Let's talk about 5 carnivore diet myths because they are out there and people are arguing about them. Welcome back to my channel. I am Sylvia and I'm a carnivore diet coach. The myth number 1, you need fiber to have bowel movement. No, you don't. You really don't. Just go on the carnivore diet and find out. In fact, I'm a prime example that you don't need any fiber to have good bowel movement. I was dealing with chronic constipation for most of my 20s and 30s, and I was treating it by virtue of using all sorts of fibers. I was importing them from all over the world. My last one was some miraculous fiber from Iran. You think it helped me? No, it didn't. I still had to use laxative to go to the bathroom. And then I got on the carnivore diet, and I got on the carnivore diet to actually reverse rheumatoid arthritis. And by the way, if you are new to my channel, now is a good time to subscribe because I tell you about my journey to health with the use of the carnivore diet. So I wasn't really even focusing on my constipation. I just accepted it as part of life. But guess what? 10 days into the carnivore diet, my bowel movements normalized. I started going to the bathroom every day. And 5 years later, I am still constipation free and I take 0 fiber. And I know if you're thinking that, oh, it's just one example, just you are just one person, that actually is not the case because there have been studies, and I will link them in the description box, where they studied 63 people with idiopathic constipation and divided them into 3 groups: no fiber, little fiber, and regular fiber. And those that had no fiber in their diet resolved their constipation. And the myth number 2, the carnivore diet will give you cancer because of all the red meats that you are eating. Well, I've been eating red meat for the last 5 years and no signs of colorectal cancer. In fact, things are looking very good for me. But I know where this conventional wisdom comes from. At one point, the World Health Organization classified red meat as a carcinogen, and it all made it to the public domain, and everybody's scared of red meat. And there is study that is behind that decision, which was carried out on rats, and the rats were fed red meat. What you don't know is that those rats were also given a carcinogenic substance before they were fed red meat. And also, there was no distinction between red meat like fresh meat or red processed preserved meat with tons of preservatives in it. And these are just the 2 basic problems with those studies. If you really open up the books on those studies, there's a lot of issues in them. And I do have a separate video dedicated just to those studies and how it made it to be that meat is carcinogenic. So I will link it up here, so check it out. So when it comes to the meat consumption, we have on one hand thousands of people doing the carnivore diet now for quite some time. I myself been on it for the last 5 years. Then we also have our ancestors, where most of our evolutionary past, we were eating nothing but red meat. We ate what we hunted, and we weren't dying of colorectal cancers. On the other hand, we have some dubious studies on a bunch of rats and mice that were fed meat but were given a carcinogen prior to eating that meat. Which one of these 2 sound more mythical to you? And the myth number 3, cholesterol. It will clog your arteries from all the meat and fat that you are eating, except that it doesn't. And actually, to be honest, this myth is slowly dying on its own because even the mainstream press is acknowledging that butter and eggs are not problematic, and actually cholesterol tends to be on the side of the problem, but there's about 0 connection it being the problem. You can think of it as an ambulance arriving at the accident scene. It's not really the ambulance, the cholesterol, that caused the problem. It is something that shows up when there are problems with your arteries. Now, I'm no doctor, so I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty and biochemistry of it all, but there is a very good lecture by Ivor Cummins that is presenting scientific evidence and analysis in a very easy to understand way, and I will link it in the description box. If you really want to understand how cholesterol works in our body and what it is needed for, you have to watch Ivor Cummins' presentation. But even mainstream is acknowledging now that you need cholesterol for a proper function of your brain. You need cholesterol for all your sex hormones, and you need cholesterol in your blood to synthesize vitamin D3 from the sun rays. Personally, I've never bought into this idea that butter and eggs are bad for you, because I grew up on a ranch and my father was a pig and sheep rancher or farmer. And all that we have eaten was meat and lard and butter, and we were thriving on it as children. And the less animal foods that I've ever eaten was the period that I was the sickest. The more animal foods I eat, the healthier I feel. And so my simple rule of thumb is, if my father wasn't able to make it on his ranch, then I'm not eating it. And there's no way you can produce butter out of seed oils. Have you ever seen how seed oils are produced into those oils that are heart healthy vegetable oils, or those butter like spreads? You cannot make it in the household. But you can now go to a supermarket, get heavy cream, and make it butter by yourself. It is this easy. And let me tell you this, if it wasn't consumed in 1900s, you shouldn't be consuming it today. And myth number 4, you will not be able to meet all your nutritional needs by eating meat only. And the reality is, the opposite is true. Even if you eat just fresh red meat, for the most part, you will be okay with all your nutritional needs. But if you really want to go fancy and you want to eat nose to tail carnivore diet with occasional organ meats and some bone marrow, guaranteed to meet all of your nutritional needs. On the other hand, if you get this bright idea like I once did to go animal foods free, plants only diet, vegan, vegetarian, it will take you just a few years before you start developing some serious nutritional deficiencies. Because you can defeat your biology. This animal needs to get another animal in order to thrive. And if you don't give your body animals from outside, it will start eating itself from within. It will start cannibalizing its own tissue in order to keep you alive. So don't try to defeat your biology. We evolved eating meat. And finally, myth number 5, you will develop scurvy due to vitamin C deficiency because there's no vitamin C in animal foods. That simply isn't true. Even the critics of the carnivore diet acknowledge that there is sufficient amount of vitamin C in organ meats, particularly liver. But the good news don't end there. There's also vitamin C in fresh muscle meat. But guess what? The USDA nutritional tables, they just don't report it. They just don't include it. But if you go to the archive records from the European nutritional charts at the end of the 18th century, you will see that vitamin C was listed in the content of fresh red meat. And there's more to the story when it comes to vitamin C, because if you don't eat carbohydrates, your demand for vitamin C is minimal. So whatever you get from the muscle meats and the liver is more than enough for you to function optimally. So even if you are one of those carnivores that just can't stand the ideas of organ meats, by eating fresh red meat and not eating any carbohydrates, you will likely meet all your nutritional needs when it comes to vitamin C. All right, this will do it for this week's video. If you're on the fence whether to start the carnivore diet or not, I think this video will help you to make the leap of faith into the carnivore diet. If you are dealing with a chronic condition, things like autoimmunity, allergies, asthma, you gotta give carnivore diet a try. If you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.